Welcome to the Ranch and Table Podcast, where we discuss all things related to our Texas ranch and our Ranch to Table restaurant located in downtown Rockwall. I'm your host, Lee Wells. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ranch and Table. I'm Lee Wells, and I am so glad that you have chosen to join me today. You are more than just a listener or a download number. You are really and truly my inspiration for the hard work that goes into this. And thank you so much for being a part of this today. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Sterling Tea. They are true professionals in the tea business, creating over 200 different blends and flavors of tea. And they have been serving hundreds of customers, businesses around the country, and they're truly the best. And I've partnered with them for a number of years and will continue to do so. And I just encourage you to go out to sterlingtea.com and check out what they have. Make an order and use the Ranch and Table 20% off. It is Wells 20 at checkout, and hope you do that. And then, of course, I want to mention to you, if you haven't seen it yet, my new book that is out. You can go to Amazon.com. You can go to LeeWellsOfficial.com and order directly from me. I'll ship it to you. Order it on LeeWellsOfficial.com. I'll even sign it for you and send it. So if you would like to get a copy of Burger Brilliance, it is available. And thank you for listening today. I want to talk to you about something that I really have been researching for years and thinking about for years, never really spoken much about it. And it is my interest in the IQ system. And intelligent quotient is something that's been around forever, been around for a long, long time. And really it's an old idea, and it's being revamped over the years. And so originally, and let me just say, I'm not an expert in this. I have not researched this completely and fully. I'm not degreed in this topic, but I've been interested in it for a long time. And what I found is that there was an original old style IQ, which most people know about, and it was based on 4 factors, 4 test criteria. And one was spatial recognition, which is visual judgment, puzzles, patterns, the visual recognition, interpretation ability. And then there's short-term memory, which we all know we want more of, I'm sure, information recall. And then there's the mathematical ability. I think everyone's familiar with that being part of it, equations, difficult computations. And then number 4 is analytical thinking and the grasping of abstract ideas and following logic. And so that's traditionally what we think of when we're talking about IQ. But in recent years, there have been scholars and researchers that have begun to challenge that basis and say, but there's more. There's more intelligences out there to be gained and improved on and skills honed. And so they begin to break out another chart. And this chart doesn't have 4, it has 8. And let me kind of get into that in just a minute. Let me pause for a second and just say, I believe that we have all been held hostage. I know it's a hard way to say it, by the educational terms and systems that a lot of us have grown up in. I know I've talked about it some in the past that I felt dumb as a kid because while they were talking about fractions and my mind was somewhere completely different, not caring at all about fractions. And I still don't care about fractions. I still couldn't really tell you if 3/8 and 5/8 the difference between the two and which one's bigger. I just don't care. I know that only one wrench fits on that nut. So you find the right one, you're able to make it work. So, the fact that I can break all that down and analyze it, I get that it's a basic skill. I get that, 2/4 is a half. I get you cut a pie into 8 pieces. A pizza, I get it. I was listening to the food part. But we've all been part of the system that says you have to learn like this, you have to understand like this, and you have to recall like this. And I think that for some of us, at least us entrepreneurs, as business creators, wealth creators, whatever you want to call the people that I'm talking to today, we don't always fit those educational premises. And I think that's true with IQ as well. And I'm going somewhere with all this, by the way. It's going to tie into business here in just a minute, I promise. But, as a kid in school, looking around, wondering what I was doing there and what they were talking about at the blackboard or on the whiteboard or whatever it was at the time, I had no idea that I could have within me the ability to launch 10 companies. I had no idea that I had within me other intelligences that they weren't grading, that they weren't studying, that I wasn't able to, at that time, learn about and hone. And I think we're doing better, and I've talked about this in other podcasts and other episodes, but I think we're doing better as a society. We are giving people other opportunities for other types of educational, being vocational. Our education system is adapting, and I'm very thankful for that. My mom's a retired educator. I don't have a chip on my shoulder about education. It just kind of is what it is. And I grew up in this system where if you didn't fit this block, then you were dumb or you didn't make good grades or whatever. And it didn't give me the ability to understand the true bandwidth of my thinking or the abilities. And so let me go through kind of what they've done to some of this IQ study. I saw a chart the other day, very interesting chart, and they had kind of combined some of the IQ factors that were there, but they have 8 instead of 4. So let me run down this list real quick. Spatial was left alone. They left it just like it is. Logical, mathematical was, they kind of took mathematical and analytical and combined them together and said these are similar things, and they made it one category. And so that's basically the same IQ scale as before, using those 2 ideas. And then they added a third, which was kinesthetic or bodily IQ. So if you can imagine Albert Einstein sitting in school, bored, thinking about who knows what he was thinking about in school, but unable to tie his shoes at the same time, and getting a bad grade for not being able to tie his shoes, and socially getting bad marks because he wasn't interested in the conversation that was around him, and his mind was somewhere completely another dimension. And then you take the fact that he probably couldn't throw a football or catch a football. He had an amazing amount of IQ as far as mathematics and spatial and patterns and all of that, but he didn't have anything to do with bodily function and ability to catch and throw and eye-hand coordination and all of that. So it's a completely different thing. And I think they're right for saying there's another part of IQ here. You can take someone that is very good at golf, and there's body muscle memory, that body positions that are memorized, that are systematically the same every time you take a swing with a driver versus a 7-iron versus a putting wedge. And all of these things are different, but yet they do have mathematical understandings, but you don't have to know that to be very good at the body side, the muscle memory side, the actual playing of the game. And that's a totally different skill. Then they added interpersonal. So interpersonal is the emotional intelligence to connect to others. And so again, you see Albert Einstein, you see him not able to connect with the people around him. Socially, he was an oddball because his brain was somewhere else completely. And he didn't have any social skills to speak of, it's my understanding, at the time. So you take someone that's not real intelligent as far as maybe math or science, but I know people right now who, when you sit down and talk to them or they walk up, they can control a room. I mean, they love people. They connect well with people. They talk to people. They really do have empathy to others. And there's this other thing that they're very, very good at interpersonally. Their connection to other people is amazing. And so it's a completely different skill set. And then intrapersonal, there's others who are certainly better at understanding themselves and who are self-aware than other people. And then another one is musical. And again, it makes sense. You take someone that's very smart in math or science, and maybe they're also good at music, or you could take someone that's a musician who may not have done well in school because of the grading system of reading, math, science, but yet they can play guitar and they can make music, and they understand harmonies, and they understand how notes and rhythms go together to make beautiful things. It's a completely different type of intelligence. And then there's linguistic, which again makes sense. Writers, public speakers, explainers, teachers. And then there's people who have a great amount of knowledge in naturalistic or botany, biology. You think about people who are survivalists, who can be turned out in the wilderness for 7 days or 20 days and live. I mean, not this guy. I don't want to do that. But they understand what plants you can eat, how to make fire, how to make boar traps and all these things. And you got people who we call green thumbs who can make things live, and you got people who are not green thumbs. And so it is a completely different system of learning and set of intelligence. So I understand why they broke it out the way that they did, because there's so much more to an intelligence. There's so much more to an IQ than just the ability to add, 4 columns of numbers that are, 7 digits each. I mean, there's more to our lives than just being able to speed read and read 27 books a month. There's more to life than being able to recall everybody's name you've ever met. Those are cool. Those are good, really good tricks and really good intelligences. But then there's other things that are part of life as well that I think we need to talk about. And so with that foundation, with that understanding that there are other intelligence other than math and patterns and the old school IQ, I want to talk to you about another intelligent quotient. I want to talk to you about business intelligence. And so I know I took a few minutes there to build this foundation. I hope you're still with me, because here's what I really want to talk to you about. As business owners, as business leaders, and on a business broadcast like this, business intelligence is not the same thing as making an A in school. It is a completely different set of intelligence than going to work, working for someone else and producing an outcome at a desk, or writing papers, or for years I was an engineer for telecom. And I could sit down and I could produce an engineering document to tell somebody, tell a crew how to put an entire rack or 2 or 3 racks of equipment together, how to wire them together, how to program them, how to program them, and how to make it all work, and what power levels, how much power each fuse size was for each piece of equipment. And my job was to take these different devices and build out these engineering documents. And I could sit there and do that pretty easily. But I can also tell you it takes a different set of skills today to run multiple businesses. And not one's better than the other. It just depends on where you are. And if you're in business today and you're struggling in some areas, I want to encourage you that it's not because you're dumb. It's not because you can't do it. It's probably because you are not proficient in every part of what you're trying to do, and there's more intelligence out there. There's more ability out there than what you have right now. And I'm always learning. I'm always adding to my list of what I know. I'm always learning every day. Some of it's hard knocks. Some of it's learning by fire and trial and error and all of that. But as I keep going, I become a better business owner. I become a better leader. I become a better CEO or director because of what I've been through, what I know now that I didn't perhaps know 20 years ago when I was sitting there doing documents for MCI and WorldCom. And so let me go through some of this with you and help you understand what I'm talking about. Number one, as a business owner, there's a business intelligence of understanding what a customer wants. Just because you open your doors, you put a sign up, and you got the lease on a building, does not also mean by default that you know what your customer base really wants. And I don't know that anybody really knows day one all the ins and outs of what their customers want. But we build intelligence as we go. When I first opened the restaurant, I told people, I was very honest with people, and I said, hey, this is our first restaurant. Don't know what we're doing. If you give me some time, I promise I'm learning. I promise I'm listening. And I can honestly say I have learned over the 5.5 years of running a restaurant, I have learned as a student what my customers want. I've learned it. I didn't necessarily know it. Now, I had a pretty good sense when I opened that my flavor profiles were good and were what the masses want. In my book, I talk about the menu structure. I talk about some of what we did originally and how we changed it out, how we made decisions as we went, and I talk about some of that in the book. But it was a process. But I'm also telling you that I was pretty close on a lot of that already. My seasoning hasn't changed since we opened. My spicy ketchup recipe and ranch recipes haven't changed since we opened. I have a pretty good understanding of what flavors appeal to a pretty good mass of people. And that is an intelligence. That's an IQ, an area of understanding that you have to have if you're going to give the customers what they want. So you have to develop that. You have to think about that. You have to understand it. Number two, you have to consistently provide services and products with consistency. So you have to not only have a good product offering, but you have to have a product offering that is consistent as possible every time someone comes in. Everybody struggles with this. Every restaurant, I'm a restaurant owner, every restaurant struggles with this. I would love for it to be exactly perfect every single time. Sometimes it is. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes things get forgotten. Whatever it is, there's just things that happen because we're all human. But for the most part, there's got to be a way that we create a process that is simple and replicatable enough to make things happen consistently. And so if your process is so complicated that nobody can learn it but you, if your process is so in depth and detailed that it takes somebody 6 months of working with you to get it right, chances are it's never going to be right, because that's too hard of a thing. And people don't think like that. They don't think about that. That's an intelligence of how do I build a process with my product offering, with my service, whatever it is I'm doing, whether it be cleaning pools or making hamburgers or pouring concrete, whatever it is there a process that I can set up and train so that my product is consistent every time? That's something of an IQ level that you have to build within your own systems. And so number three, then, you have to secure your weaknesses. Now, this is something that I learned the hard way. I had already started several companies whenever I was to the place of starting Wells Cattle Company in the restaurant. And I had already learned about myself. This is true confession day here, I guess, that I had to learn about myself that I am not real good at keeping up with receipts and numbers and CPA kind of stuff, accounting kind of stuff. My frequency that I run at doesn't allow for me to care very much about that kind of day-to-day detail. So I knew whenever I opened this business that I was going to have to find a very good CPA who was going to track every number that moved every day, every month, every year. And I was going to need someone to comprehensively have my back and take responsibility of what I did every day and through the month and all that. So I've had two different CPAs. The first one retired. The second one still with me, doing a great job. And if you need a good reference, let me know. I'll let you know who he is. He's an amazing guy. He has my back. He has logins to all of my accounts. He pulls the numbers down. He puts them into QuickBooks. He organizes them. I pay him well to do this because I know this is a weakness that I have. This is something I don't care anything about. I don't have the passion for numbers that he does. I don't have the love of numbers and in making them equal and making them work. I hate the tax system. Boy, I hate the tax system. I don't like it. I don't care one thing about the IRS. I just want them to leave me alone. I want them to never come knock on my door. And that's what I told my CPA. I said, don't you ever let this IRS come knock on my door. I don't want any red flags. I don't want any gray. I want it to be exactly right because I do not ever want to see them. And that's the kind of guy that I needed to back me up and help me as I grew and as I began to do these things. And then, so number 4, another intelligence we need is we need to be able to understand expansion timelines. We need to understand resources. We have to be able to justly analyze and understand where we are in the process of our business. And these are things that they don't teach you in school. These are things that just you can add up numbers all day long and it won't ever make sense. What I'm talking about won't ever make sense to someone that's never been here and doesn't understand the day-to-day that we're discussing right now. And so here's another one. How you limit your product offering to be able to provide more. Now that's a weird thing to even say. It even comes off sounding weird. How do I limit myself to be able to give more? I promise you, if you give too wide of a product offering, you won't be able to do anything right. You'll find problems in everything you do. If you're trying to serve the whole world with your business, you are not going to get it right. I would much rather see a business say, this is the one thing we do, and we do it better than anybody. These are the 3 things we offer the world, and you won't find anybody that does these 3 things better. That's an intelligence that you have to acquire, because the thing that we want to do is say, we can do it all. We can do it all better than everybody else. Look at us go. And the fact is you can't. And so there is an understanding that you have to have, a maturity and a wisdom that you have to have that says, I'm going to do these things. We do beef. Now, we have a chicken burger because we can do it just as easily and as well as we can do our beef. We do beef. We have now a Wagyu hot dog. Now, that's easy to do because we use all the same toppings that we've always had. We just reordered them. We redesigned it. Didn't have to add, but I think we added 1 or 2 items in our cold tray to add 14 or 16 hot dog options. We just changed the bun. We already had a different bun. So really, we do beef. We do our burgers. We do our beef the way we do it. and we offer a couple other variations of options. That's it. We don't have onion rings and fried pickles and sweet potato fries and regular fries and this and that and this, deep fried mushrooms. We don't do all that. We do hand cut fries. That's our thing. I don't know that we'll ever, even if we had 7 different fryers back there, I don't think we'll ever do onion rings, because we would rather focus on doing fries better than anybody else can do them. We want to do them our way. We want to do them the right way. We want to be special with it. And so that's what we're going to do. So we limit ourselves to be able to do very well with the things we do. That's an intelligence. That's something that has to be done in a way that's on purpose with intelligence. It's because that's the way of understanding. That's the way it's got to be. So here's another one for you. When you understand finances in business are not the same thing as a checkbook register that you learned how to balance in your accounting class in high school. Business math is not the same thing as your checkbook at home. Now, of course, your checkbook's the same thing as a checkbook, but how you spend money is not the same thing as your budget at the house. You have to understand what your money is going to do, and then you have to understand what that money can do for you. You have to understand what kind of money you need to spend to be able to make the most amount of money that you can have come back in. And it's an intelligence that I'm talking about, that you, just like a golf swing is something completely different than understanding fractions or understanding how to read a book. It's all different skill sets that you have to have. Hiring talent. How do you hire? How do you fire? How do you get rid of people who aren't good for your team? That they don't teach you that in school. That's something you have to develop and understand and sharpen up on and be on the edge to be able to do well. Finding talent, that's tough sometimes. How about this one? Marketing intelligence. Just because you can buy a billboard, or just because you can buy ad time, or just because you can get a 18-year-old to run you a Facebook ad, doesn't mean you understand what marketing's doing for you. Does not mean that you know what you're doing when it comes to marketing. So there is an intelligence that's required. Pricing structure. Let me talk to you for a second about this. Pricing structure is an intelligence. It is something that you have to understand what you're doing. You cannot just price something because you want to make that kind of money on selling that item. There are other people doing it. There is the internet that is giving us all kinds of information every day as to assigned value of things. You can't just go up and I'm gonna be the only four-wheeler ATV dealership in a 30-mile area. Okay, well, good for you. Well, that means I'm just going to be able to set the price, $5,000 higher on a $20,000 machine, or I'm going to be able to add $2,000 above what anybody. No, you're not. Because as soon as somebody sees that price, they look it up online and they can say, no. I'll drive 30 miles. I'll drive 60 miles and save $5,000. So we have this equalizing force in our world called the internet, and you can see other people's menus in the restaurant business. You can see other people's pricing on cars, trucks, SUVs, ATVs, whatever. And so you can't just go out and say, I'm the only guy in town, so I can do whatever I want. There are other things you have to understand about setting a price and what you're going to do. And then you're talking about restaurants, what's your portion going to be for that price? One of the mistakes I see a lot of our nicer restaurants, our newer restaurants making is they have a pretty fair price to upper price. There's a couple restaurants I don't go to, even in my area out here, because my wife and I will spend $18, $20 a piece on our meal and each, and then go home hungry. Well, that doesn't work for me. No, I'm not going to do that. And so I love you. I'm your friend. I'll help you any way I can. I'll support you. I'll say you're a good restaurant. I won't talk bad about you, but I won't go there because I'm not going to spend $50, $100 for a family of four, $120 for a family of four and go home hungry. So you have to have an intelligence about what you're doing. Just because you know how to cook doesn't mean you know how to price. And it also doesn't mean that you know what the portion size needs to be for that. You need to research it. I did a survey about 6 weeks ago. I did a survey. I put it on our private group for it's not private, but put on a group, put it out to a group of customers. We have a group for our restaurant, insider kind of a group. Anybody can be a part of it. But I put it out to the group. I didn't put it out on the, big world wide web of all of Facebook, or I didn't put it out just for anybody. I wanted it to go to customers. And I asked them about, the process of ordering. I asked them about how easy it was to order, and did we take their tender? Was there any issues with the process of coming in? But really what I was getting to one question was our portion size fair for the price that we charged? And I asked a lot of questions in that survey, but I only asked those for filler. And I got some good information back. I learned a couple things, which is fine. But I really had one purpose. And my purpose was I wanted to make sure my portion size was fair to the price that people were paying for the food. And I don't remember the number of responses, quite a few responses. Not a single person said our portions were wrong. That's really what I was after, because if you've heard me talk about the restaurant business, that's the hardest thing to understand, is whether or not their portion is correct or not, the portion size. And so I was trying to get creative and try to get some ideas of how we were doing in that area to increase my intelligence level in that area and get some feedback, some honest feedback. And of course, the other thing is I didn't ask them for their name or email. I didn't ask them for any information at all. It was completely anonymous. There was no way I could tell who said what. And it made it for a more honest input and feedback. And so I was trying to increase my intelligence level to make sure I was doing right by them. And I think that every restaurant should do that. The newer restaurants that are out here that have just been open a couple years, 2 or 3 years, something like that, really need to check that, because our pricing structure since COVID has gone awry. It's not what it used to be. Everything costs more. The ticket prices are higher, but the one area that you could possibly be missing it in, and missing me sitting at your table, even though your food is good, is you need to check your portions to make sure people are getting full. And a lot of times you can't ask them to their face because they're going to be nice to you. I always ask people, how everything was. And unless something was grossly wrong, something was undercooked or didn't come out, I always hear good. Everything's great, fantastic. People lie right to your face just because they're being nice. And so you have to find other ways to learn about this. So I'm talked too long about that, but I'm gonna move on. Real customer relationships is another thing that people have to learn as you're in the business. And being that interpersonal linguistic skills are there for sure, but there's another part of it, that real understanding of appreciation that's there. And here's the big one. This is one I left for the very last. I saved this one for last for a reason. There's more. There's an exhaustive list. I don't want to wear you out, but I think I've made the point so far that these things are not the same thing as reading, writing. These skills are not the same thing as just memory recall for a test in a room. These are skills that need to be honed. These are skills that need to be learned, and you need a mentor. You probably need someone to help, especially if you're new, or if you've really been in this a long time, you probably need some help. I'll just be real honest with you. I have been learning for 5.5 years, and I'm still learning. Some people can get to the place where they think they know it all because they've been doing it 20 years, or they've been doing it for this long. Man, I've been here, being successful this long. Everyone needs to listen to me. Maybe so on some things, but I don't think that that's a fair statement just because someone's been there a long time that they're right. So I would suggest that we all continue to hone our skills and increase our intelligent quotient in these areas. And I think that makes us a better business owner. Here's the big one, though, and this is the one that we have to have, and no one's going to teach you this. And that is, you have to be the very best problem solver in the world. The difference between someone that stays in business and someone that goes out of business, I believe, really hinges, unless they're grossly in error on some of these other things. They just don't feed people enough, or their product's too expensive, or they're just in left field. The biggest thing I feel like that slams a business to the ground is when the business owner and team cannot solve their own problems. That's the big one. Number one skill that I use every day as a business owner, as multiple business owner. I have 5 businesses right now running simultaneously. The number one thing that I use every single day is my ability to solve problems. There's sometimes I can lean on someone else to come help. There's sometimes I can reach out to somebody and they can help me. If a refrigerator goes down, I can call my repair guy. Hopefully he can come take care of it. If I have some kind of a problem like that, but I'm still solving that problem through the person that I have to solve it. Then there's times where there's no one to call. I just have to figure it out. There's nobody to figure it out. We just got to figure it out to keep going. And the best problem solvers are those that nobody ever knows they were solving problems. The day I do my best work is the day that my customers never know that there was a problem. They never knew that that was an issue. They never knew that we were this close to having to close all day long because this problem arose right at opening, but we figured it out and we fixed it, and they were able to come in and eat and never knew that there was a problem. The most successful people that I know are amazing problem solvers. And those who struggle the most, as far as I know in my relationships, the people I work with and coach, and the people that I'm surrounded by, the people who have the biggest trouble are people who cannot figure things out when they have to. Your superpower, if you want to let me say it that way, is the ability to solve problems. And no one's going to teach you that. There's not a school for problem solving. There's not oh man, I want to open a restaurant. Where do I get my degree in problem solving? I don't know of one. What book do I read to solve problems? I would suggest, no, I'm kidding. What do I do to solve problems? You have to just be passionate and make sure that you are going to do whatever it takes to make things happen and to make them work and to make them right. And so when we look at these different kinds of IQs, I believe the most important one is going to be the ability, the intelligence that it takes to figure out what's going on and fix it before it becomes detrimental to your business. And so that's the number one thing I do every day. That's the skill that I use most. And the ones that are shutting down, the ones that are quitting, the ones that are going out of business are people typically who could not solve problems efficiently. And that's just what I have found. It's a different type of intelligence. And so what do we do? Now that we know this, now that you're with me to the end, what do we do? I believe that what we do is, first of all, recognize that these are things that we didn't learn in school. These are things we have to know. These are things that we really do need to work on and become proficient in. And then we also need to know that we can build on these things. We can improve. We really can make strides in doing better than we've ever done before. And so when we are looking at our business and the way it's laid out, my homework to you, if you will, is to go get a notepad or get your phone out and get to notes and begin to make a list of the things that you are very good at in your business, the things that make you who you are, that make you successful as you are. And when you do that, you're going to find that you're pretty good. You're a lot better than perhaps you did in school, and perhaps what someone might think of you, or what you might even think of yourself. But then you're going to find some holes. You're going to find some areas in there that are going to cause you to say, well, I hate that part of business. I really do not like that kind of oh man, I hate doing that part of the day. Find somebody to help back you up. Because if I have a limited number of hours of the day, say I have, we have limited 24, but really we got to sleep. We got to have some other things in life. Got a family, we got kids, got baseball, we got whatever. So whatever your number of hours are, that are your life, your business life, you're limited. You need to be doing in those hours what your IQ is the highest at. You need to be doing what you are great at. I cannot imagine sitting at a desk and working on spreadsheets and working with QuickBooks. And I sure love Richard. I love my CPA. He is an amazing man, and his IQ is all about those numbers. And that's what he gets excited about and he loves working on them. He loves balancing them out. Talk to him for a while, and you're like, you really love numbers too much. But he's a great partner with me, because if I were to sit here to try to do numbers all day, I'd be procrastinating. I wouldn't get anything done. I'd be on TikTok and Facebook all day long because I don't want to do it. So do what you're supposed to be doing. Do what you're called to do. Do what your intelligence quotient is, what you're all about. And if you can do that the most number of the hours of the day, I believe that you will have the most thriving business possible for yourself. And then learn and build up on those areas that you're pretty good at but could use some help on. And I believe that's what shows like this are all about, really, is talking about those things and finding out those little interesting parts of who we are and celebrating the things that are awesome that we are, because everybody has awesome parts of their life, and they're amazing at certain things. And then there's some deficits in our life that we've got to work on. But I don't mind working on them because it all works together. And then I have someone else come in and help me on some areas that maybe I'm not really interested at all in, and I'm not good at all. And so what you do together with that team that you build is going to be what you eventually make as the most successful part of your business. And so recognize the areas that you lack enthusiasm in or intelligence in, and find people, contractors, others to help bring up those areas that you're weak in. And then lean on the feedback that you get from the true customers who really care about you. If I go to someone and say, hey man, the portions weren't enough, they ought to know that I am there for them. I'm there to help them. I'm there to support and to bring up their business. I'm there to support and tell everybody this place is awesome. But if you don't listen to me, who are you going to listen to? If you don't listen to that help, if you're not going to listen to that input, then who are you going to listen to? And then you're going to be frustrated because your business isn't thriving. You don't have a line out the door. You're wondering how you're going to make payroll. You're not making anything in your business. You're just working yourself to death, but you don't have anything to take home and put in your account because you're not making enough, because you're not listening enough, because you're not building up your intelligent quotient enough to be proficient in what you're trying to do. Reading, writing, arithmetic are not the same things as running a business. You got to be able to be smart in running your business. There's no shame in being honest. There is no shame in realizing I have talents and I have areas that I need improvement. And the more honest we are with ourselves, I think the more happy we are, the better our business runs, and the more we can lean on others when we need to be able to be successful. It's just the way it is. The quicker we recognize it, the sooner we can make the greater level of success that we really want to see. Thank you today for being with me. This podcast has been brought to you by Sterling Tea. Use Wells 20 at checkout, sterlingtea.com, and our friends at It's Fate Creamery, downtown Fate, directly across from the fire station. It's Fate Creamery is another partner that we have partnered with, and they have partnered with us on here, and they have made a difference for us both in our restaurant and in this broadcast. It's Fate Creamery is ice cream done right. And again, ask them for 20% off, and they'll be happy to give it to you. Just tell them the name Ranch and Table. Check their socials for flavors of the week. And you know my favorite is the cookie butter. Hey, I'm looking forward to next week already. Looking forward to having a guest in the studio. I hope you're looking forward to it. I hope you have a wonderful day. This is Lee Wells saying so long.